Today, I'm going to cover enhancing personalized programming through specialized GPTs. And my name is Greg Lomason. I am an exercise science major here at Wayne State. I have over a decade of experience in the personal training and fitness industry. I'm a certified master trainer with 10 additional certifications. I'm a small business owner, and I am a previous general manager at America's largest privately owned gym. I have witnessed firsthand the industry's challenges in achieving client goals and preventing injuries. And to begin, I want to ask just a few questions of you guys. Has anyone in here had a gym membership before? Has anybody ever had personal training? How many of you have been injured or unhappy with either of those? Go ahead and raise your hands if you've ever been injured or unhappy. Awesome. So this is, in essence, what I want to address with my research proposal. The preliminary research in artificial intelligence shows that it could match or surpass orthodox training methods. The most recent research conducted by Lee and Malavian show that AI and large language models would be significant advances in both biomechanics and physical education. My vision is that using AIs in large language models, specifically generatively pre-trained transformers, could transform personal training and programming. So what are AIs, LLMs, and GPTs? So artificial intelligence is just a general term for a software program or algorithm. It's capable of advanced tasks. Large language models are a foundational software program and system that serves as a nest egg for GPTs. It has very limited capability, and it mostly serves as just the database for what GPTs can do. A GPT, or a generative pre-trained transformer, is, in simple terms, a fine-tuned large language model. It connects with the LLM to answer questions on the data set that you've given it, whatever it's been trained on. And you can think of it like a foreign language interpreter. The most common interpretation of a GPT is a chatbot, which you guys have probably been familiar with, OpenAI, Claude, Pi, just to name a few. It's basically a chatbot that allows you to interact with that data source. The terms can be used interchangeably, and I'll do so in this presentation just for simplicity measure. And just think of what I'm specifically talking about is the ability to communicate with a specific data source through a chatbot that's been trained specifically on exercise prescription. The significance of this is huge. The industry itself is projected to have a 172% increase in growth by 2030. Also by 2030, more than half of the US population is expected to be obese. There are currently 41,000 health clubs and over 64 million gym members in America. I've personally trained over 35,000. Essentially, trainers are the PE teachers of the fitness industry and the adult world. According to some of the research, these are the top reasons for membership termination. Number one is exercise-related injuries. Exercise-related injuries indicate a failure in holistic and effective programming, and more than 56% are likely to get injured in the first 6 months of physical activity. That's 32 million people a year. The second one is psychological wellness, and this highlights the industry's and education shortcomings in providing effective and holistic solutions carried out through personal trainers that provide meaningful impact in people's lives. 50% of people quit within the first 6 months of a physical readiness program. The exercise prescribed weight loss prescriptions indicate a failure to promote lasting lifestyle changes in the industry. 80% of clients regain the weight within 5 years that they've lost during weight loss interventions. This flow chart is a breakdown of how that plays out. As you can see, it doesn't bode well for the increasing obesity that will be happening by 2030, as again, 56% quit because of exercise-related injuries, 50% quit to poor psychological wellness, and 80% regain weight within 5 years. This leads to, in my experience, the top reasons for client dissatisfaction and membership termination, which include ineffective programs, lack of psychological readiness, failure to adhere to the healthy habits we are trying to implement, the one-size-fits-all methodology that's prevalent throughout the industry, and injuries themselves. And this is, in turn, supported by Prochaska's trans-theoretical model, where members fail to reach the maintenance stage of the stages you see to the right. And this stems from a fluctuation between the contemplation, preparation, and action stages, ultimately leading to voluntary termination of training memberships. So even the experts in the field, the personal trainers, are inefficient in their methodologies. And according to Daniels 2016, this is in part because only 2/3 of personal trainers have degrees in exercise-related fields. So are GPTs effective tools for exercise prescription? My hypothesis is that GPTs will match or exceed the quality of exercise prescriptions in strength performance, and this foundation is based on preliminary and current research and suggested by Baca and Wright that AI, when trained on exercise science and personalized data, could match the prescriptions that we see people are failing at. It's also shown by Lee and Malavian in their results. And this is because AI can adapt to individual needs and preferences in real time. This is shown here in this graph. As you can see, GPTs offer tailored exercise prescriptions. They adapt to individual needs and preferences in real time, which will enhance relevance, increase the effectiveness, and boost user engagement. The methods that I'm proposing in this research study are to evaluate the effectiveness of GPTs in exercise prescription. To do this, we'll conduct a longitudinal prospective double-blind study comparing the performance of specialized GPTs against that of a certified personal trainer. You can think of it like a battle royale. The GPT and CPT will design exercise prescriptions based on a shared pool of exercises that have been populated by the American College of Sports Medicine's protocols. These programs will be given then to a secondary CPT who has no knowledge of these pre-populated or populated programs by the CPT and GPT, who will then implement it into a small cohort. The study will be conducted in the MathI building to evaluate the system's effectiveness in strength performance and user satisfaction, and we plan to collaborate with the computer science, lifestyle fitness activities, and sports psychology divisions, their respective roles involving developing a localized GPT specifically trained on exercise science and protocols from ACSM, and to collect the enjoyment and psychological metrics data. I plan to use AI to develop a systematic approach, generate tailored fitness programs based on individual health metrics, preferences, and real-time progress tracking. This approach and the outcomes will enhance overall performance, improve psychological well-being, potentially reduce injury, increase member retention, and that leads to benefits for Mort Harris and the industry generally. The fitness industry's mission statements aimed at promoting health and well-being often resemble the following: to help as many people as possible achieve the benefits of a healthy lifestyle. Contrasting sharply with the high injury rates, ineffective weight loss programs, and gym members' dissatisfaction that you've seen previously in the slides that I've presented. This is a significant gap between the mission statements and the practices and fails to meet the utilitarian and deontological ethics implied by those mission statements. This diminishes the program effectiveness, and it serves as a frustrating experience for those striving to get better health. However, specialized GPTs offer a chance to realign industry practices with those espoused ethics. By prioritizing a client-centered approach, offering valuable exercise prescriptions, we can enhance individual experiences by giving trainers the tools necessary to ensure that the human element of fitness remains at the forefront of client relationships. This kindness-centered, holistic approach will make healthy, sustainable outcomes accessible for everyone. And the main objective of this research proposal is, again, to showcase the effectiveness of GPTs in improving strength and performance, though you can see it has much broader implications. By addressing the interconnected issues of injury prevention, psychological well-being, and personalized prescription protocols, we can create a future where our solutions for client pain points optimize physical outcomes, and prioritize the overall health and happiness of individuals who engage in strength training and other fitness-related activities. Using AI to enhance and provide, not replace, an individual's fitness journey, we can ensure that the human element of that process remains at the forefront. As we integrate these tools into the fitness industry and abroad, mindful of their limitations, our aim must remain in finding balance and honoring the fundamental humanity at the heart of every fitness experience. The opportunity is there for us to build a future in which our clients and their well-being are the metrics by which we measure our success, not profit margins. As Zig Ziglar once said, you don't build a business, you build people, and people build the business. Well, the fitness industry has always been a people business. As I conclude, consider the following questions. What does empowering individuals to achieve their health and fitness goals truly mean? Is genuine empowerment of an individual simply a matter of providing advanced tools, or does it require something more profound? Thank you to Professor Mason for your mentorship and inspiration. Thank you to Matthew Orr for the opportunity to present, and thank you to you, the audience, for your time and attention. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Can you clarify a little bit what the outcomes of the study are? So there's some assessments of just how much they're enjoying it, but are you also looking at some physical changes, muscle mass?
Yes, so her question was whether or not the outcomes of what we're looking for are also physical outcomes, such as strength performance. And the answer to that question is yes. The main goal of the research is to assess whether there are significant changes in strength performance between a protocol and program that is designed by a certified personal trainer that is familiar with the American College of Sports Medicine's protocols, or if a GPT who has been given those protocols and given the information and literature regarding that is a better tool to synthesize that information and provide it to a client. And so what we plan to do is both of these things. We want to populate a program from a certified personal trainer who's familiar with those protocols, have the GPT populate those programs from the protocols, and then implement it through a third-party certified personal trainer who has no idea who designed the program, and then, of course, measure and track the results of the strength increases of the people that are participating in it. That the physical part of this is the main aspect, because if it doesn't actually give results, then it's not effective to us in that particular aspect. The other implications are the psychological wellness and the enjoyment of the programs that are being given. To specify just a little more, usually when a personal trainer meets a client, the first thing that they do is ask the client, what are your goals? What do you want to do? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to gain weight? Do you want to get stronger? Do you want to get toner? Do you want to increase your ability to go throughout the day in general activities? What is it that you really want? And then from that, we go over injuries and we go over different health metrics to see if there are any limitations. And then we design the program based on those specific things to meet the goals that the client has given us in the first introduction. The main point of this is to have information from the clients or the people that are training, what do they want to do, and then have those CPTs and GPTs actually develop the program. And then, of course, any program is only successful if it has success. And that's what we're aiming to do. I hope that answers your question. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
So, I understand you're preparing protocols, develop or change with ChatGPT or something alike, and then a personal trainer. We also know that there's several different ways someone can get to their goals. Working with the human being who is developing it, as they watching you go through your workout, they gain, knowledge of your likes, your interests, in what specific movements you're doing, what you don't like. So, the strength component, you can have two people do two different things that can gain the same strength. And how much they like a program, when you work with a personal trainer, in person, they change it to hopefully make it more enjoyable. Mm-hmm. So if you have to go back to ChatGPT to say, client prefers X, Y, and Z, there just seems so much variability here that's unaccounted for. How are you accounting for this variability?
It's a good question. So the question is, again, how do we account for the variability that ultimately will come from the in real-time changes that a personal trainer could make to the program based on a client's needs?
Like acutely or just over the term of the plan? Strength increases are the same. How would you still determine if ChatGPT is effective or not?
So in my idea of this specifically, in order to actually design the program has to have a certain amount of bounds. There have to be limitations to what we're going to allow the GPT and the CPT to actually do. So what I and Professor Mason are going to do is populate a pool of specific exercises that a GPT or a CPT can do, and then they can pick from these exercises to develop it in a way that they think would increase strength performance. And it's going to be in a very limited protocol. So there's going to be a very specific way that I want them to do a warm-up, a very specific way that I want the lifts to be performed, and a very specific cool-down method. But the exercises within that specificity are the creative part of personal training and what I hope to see with GPT if they're able to do that. To account for the variabilities that you're talking about within the actual implementation of it, that is something that, again, is a good question. And there are a couple different ways that we can do it. When you have a personal trainer who, let's say they make a change on the fly, typically when you design a program, at least when I design a program, I do 4 to 6 week blocks with a 2-week deload, which means that a 4 to 6 week block is 4 to 6 weeks of a specific set of exercises that are preferably progressively overloading. So you add a little bit more weight or repetition or intensity throughout those 4 to 6 week blocks. And then there's a 2-week period where you halve all of the volume that you've done and then have the person get more recovery. So within that specific 4 to 6 week block structure, if that's how we decide to design the program, I don't necessarily know that there would be too much ability for variation specific to like the exercise protocol. Like it's going to be the same protocol for each for the most part. They're going to follow that program specifically. I have developed an actual Excel program where for measurements, it does everything automatically. I developed it. So I can take 3 measurements, a neck measurement, a chest measurement, a hip measurement, and get a client calorie amount, their protein, carbs, and fat amount, their heart rate training zones for cardio, respiratory fitness. I can also get their body fat percentage. So it's, for me, the implementation of that specifically, they'll be following this specific program I have. We'll be able to monitor it because we have access to it. And then if there are certain changes that we need to address with the trainer, because that's the variability, really, is the human being. Once the GPT populates a specific program, it's not going to be able to change it unless we prompt it to change. It's the human variable that we really have to account for in that specific regard. And we'll be able to see everything they do in real time because we have access to the same document that they're actually putting stuff into, if that makes sense. Are there further questions? Yes, sir.
So different physical trainers have different workout philosophies. Some prioritize intensity, some prioritize volume. How is a GPT able to discern which one will be more effective based on what the client is looking for?
So specifically, when you train a GPT on a specific data set, it has that data set to populate from. And how an LLM and a GPT actually work is it's a language-based model that fills in context. So when you train a GPT or an LLM specifically, the foundational LLM, let's say you have a sentence where the sentence is Schrodinger's cat. Everybody's familiar with that theory, right? Where you have a cat that's either dead or alive in a box. When you train a LLM, the sentence is a blank is in a box. Is it blank or alive? And what an LLM does is it fills in the context because it understands where that information comes from. In application, when it comes to the specific programming for a client based on their needs, training the GPT on exercise-related principles and then the ACSM guidelines, a person will be able to prompt, like myself, it'll be me and Professor Mason that are prompting the GPT. We'll be able to prompt the GPT what the client needs to address. And because the GPT has access to the information that's based around specific needs of individuals, it'll be able to assess what those needs are based on the context of what they're asking and populate the result from it. For clarification, for the last 3 months, I've been doing my own little case study on this. I have a GPT that I've trained on the information that I know as a personal trainer. I've got 20 pages or so on different exercise prescription, modalities, etc. And I've trained a GPT on OpenAI to only have access to that data and then populate things based on different client asks. So there is some credence to this, and the specificity is a little bit more in depth than that, but there is some evidence that it might be a useful tool. I've used it myself. All right. Thank you, guys.